Hare Krishna. Fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and let's see which verse was selected. If you remember, we're talking about transcendental knowledge, and this is a unique verse. It's unique in the sense that all of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita are of 4 lines. Here, this verse is 2 lines only. It makes a very clear and emphatic statement. It's the 31st verse for those of you who have a Gita handy or in your hands. Krishna says, Nayam lokos tiyagyasya kutonya kuru sattama. O best of the Kuru dynasty, that refers to Arjuna, his friend to whom he's talking. Without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Once again, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Let's just clarify what sacrifice here means. You may have the vision of sacrifice as some type of ritual in which perhaps offering, for those of you who know Indian culture, fire sacrifice, where grains and ghee, clarified butter, is offered into the fire. So that's also a sacrifice, yagya. But that sacrifice is, in one sense, sort of symbolic. Sacrifice, in its very simple definition, means to perform activities for the pleasure of the Supreme. And if you remember, our last few discussions have been that the Supreme is a supreme person. So those activities that are done for the satisfaction of the Supreme are called, in Sanskrit, the word is yagya, and it's called sacrifice. We have the other sense of the sacrifice that I'm giving something up, something that's mine, I'm giving to someone else. I sacrifice. He sacrificed his wealth. Soldiers sacrificed their lives. Currently, doctors and nurses, health workers are sacrificing their lives, putting their lives on the line for others. So that sacrifice, that's when you're doing something for the benefit of someone else. Here, sacrifice means to do something for the benefit of the Supreme. And ultimately, yoga really means sacrifice. And as I mentioned before, yoga is not just some activity that I do at a certain time of day in a certain place through certain exercises. Ultimately, yoga means life. Similarly, sacrifice means our whole life. So when someone is sacrificing their life, their words, their acts, their thoughts, everything that they're actually doing, everything that they possess, is done as a sacrifice for the Supreme. Now that is called a real yogi. And ultimately, that is the goal of bhakti. The goal of bhakti is to devote ourselves to the Supreme. And becoming devoted is the ultimate sacrifice, because it's not a sacrifice that I mandated to do it, I have to do it. It's a sacrifice because I love to do it, because I want to do it, and I'm doing it out of love. So bhakti really means the ultimate sacrifice, to give everything. And here we're not just talking about the externals, but we're talking about giving your heart to the Supreme Person. Obviously, that may be a big step. And therefore, people need to practice sacrifice, which means that I perform some act of sacrifice and increase those acts as I see the benefit of that, as the purification of that act manifests in my own life, as I see its benefit, then I extend sacrifice until it becomes all-pervasive, takes my whole life. Nayam lokosta yagyasya kutosta kurusattama. That is what this verse said. Without sacrifice, one cannot live happily in this world. And the connection is to happiness, that if you really want to be happy, you have to live in harmony with the Creator. We have a general idea, most people, that you have to live in harmony with the creation, although we've done a pretty good job of messing up the creation as well. But we're coming to realize that humanity can't continue like this. So we have to be in harmony with the creation, but we have to also be in harmony with the Creator. And learning that sacrifice is what spiritual practice is about. Okay, what can I do? What can I do in order to perform a sacrifice? Well, I'll quote a verse, which is from not the Bhagavad Gita, but from the continuation of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm hoping that sometime in the future I'll be able to do sort of a summary study of the Bhagavatam. Yagya sankirtana prayer yajantihi sumedasa. The same word yagya is used, sacrifice. And it says that in this day and age that we're living in, this very disturbed age, which is called the age of Kali, in this age, the best, indeed not only the best, but the only sacrifice which is to be performed is Yagya Sankirtana prayer, is Sankirtan, and maybe you picked out the word Kirtan out of there, is Kirtan, chanting the names of the Supreme. Yagya Sankirtana prayer yajantihi sumedasa. So you may want to ask, okay, how do I perform sacrifice to please the Supreme? Chant his names. When you chant the names of the Supreme, Hare Krishna and Rama, which are in this form of the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that is sacrifice. And start doing it 5 minutes a day. I'm sacrificing 5 minutes of my time to perform the ultimate sacrifice for the pleasure of the Supreme, which is the sacrifice of Kirtan. And that can be done, as we just did right now, out aloud. It can be done quietly, counting on beads. There are different ways of doing that chanting. And by that chanting, devotion awakens, and that devotion awakens within our heart. It naturally cleanses in our heart and awakens devotion to the Supreme, and we experience a different type of happiness. The type of happiness that doesn't come and then go, but the type of happiness that just grows and grows and grows. And that's why Krishna says that without performing sacrifice, you can't be happy, either in this life or in the next, which is no longer news to us at this 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, because already in the 2nd chapter, Krishna had introduced the concept of the continuity of the soul through different bodies. So if we want to be happy in this world, in this life, and if we want to be happy in the future, then try chanting Hare Krishna, and you will see the result.